Welcome back to American Morning. This morning, a woman is in critical condition, and authorities are saying she might not survive after she was mauled by a 200-pound pet chimpanzee. It was her friend's pet. This chimpanzee is actually famous for appearing in TV ads over the years. The attack happened after 15-year-old chimp Travis got loose from a home in Connecticut. Police were eventually forced to kill the animal. Joining me now to talk about the situation, Jeff Corwin, wildlife biologist with Animal Planet. You know, chimpanzees are beloved by humans, and, you know, I mean, Michael Jackson, of course, famously had his pet chimp Bubbles. And when you hear about situations like this, it reminds you these are wild animals. But as you're finding out more about this story, what do you think may have gone wrong?
Absolutely. It's really shocking. You know, you bring up a great point. There's more in common that we have with chimpanzees than there are characteristics that are different. In fact, chimpanzees are 90% plus similar to us genetically. With that said, these are very wild, powerful great apes. They're primates. And in wild chimpanzee society, they live in what's called a fission-fusion society. They have very specific territories. And it's not uncommon when one territory is invaded by a chimpanzee that chimpanzee can actually be killed by the resident chimps. So violence is not unknown to these animals. Like us, they're very complex. They display a whole array of emotions, whether it's empathy, whether it's passion, in this case, violence.
And, you know, the situation is interesting. Apparently, he was a very popular figure around town in Stamford, Connecticut. This chimpanzee had lived with his family for 15 years. They say that he enjoyed drinking wine from a stemmed glass. He dressed and bathed himself, he even logged onto a computer. And, I mean, you know, so you hear all of this stuff, and it's funny, it's adorable, and then things go horribly wrong. In this situation, they say that he seemed agitated, and that his owner, who was 70 years old, gave him some tea laced with Xanax, I guess trying to calm him down. And then when she couldn't kind of get him into the house and under control, she called her other friend over. This was the woman who was eventually attacked. How do you know, sort of deal with a 200-pound animal that doesn't want to do what you want it to do?
Yeah, with a glass of wine and taking Xanax. You know, I'm trying to wrap my head around that. I think what we really have to look at is sort of the whole idea of a pinch of prevention is worth a pound of cure. You know, in the state of Connecticut and throughout the United States, there are very strict laws in the books to try to prevent this scenario from unfolding. These animals are protected by the Endangered Species Act, by CITES, the Convention for the International Trade of Endangered Species. But because this chimpanzee was 15 years old, he had a long history with his family, right. I think he got in under a sort of a grandfathered situation. Right. But the truth is that these animals don't make good pets. They're incredibly powerful, and there are really few legitimate reasons. There are some, but there are few that these creatures should be in captivity. Look, we're attracted to these animals. There's clearly a kinship that human beings share with our close cousins, chimpanzees, but we shouldn't be keeping them in our homes as pets. This tragedy happens every year around our country. Most of the situations where humans and chimps mix in the home environment ends up tragically either for the human being, for the chimpanzee, or for both.
It is a sad situation, and in this situation, he eventually had to be shot by an officer after trying to attack the officer.
And a woman could very well die or
right.
is garishly wounded.
Yeah, it's a very sad situation, absolutely.
But the last thing that's so important, though, is that when these situations happen, we vilify the chimpanzees. These are endangered species. They're incredibly important to the environments where they live. They make up a great part of our great arc of our planet. It's just a bad way to end on such an incredibly important creature.
Yeah, you're right. Jeff Corwin, wildlife biologist for Animal Planet, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Well, who really owns the photos and the information that you post?